A shivering voice of 10-year-old Lucia echoed at the door of $1 million restaurant. "Mr. Washington, may I eat your leftovers?" That moment would become one of the most unexpected decisions Denzel Washington ever made in his life. And this decision was destined to change the fate not just of Lucia, but of an entire city. It was a choice born not of obligation, but of a quiet, profound empathy that stirred within him, cutting through the layers of fame and fortune. It was a cold, damp November night in New York City, a night where the biting wind seemed to carry the weight of countless unseen struggles and the silent despair of those forgotten by the city's glittering facade. The golden lights of the Gilded Spoon, an establishment synonymous with unapologetic exclusivity and extravagant taste, spilled out onto the rain-slicked pavements, illuminating the historic brownstones and gleaming skyscrapers of Midtown Manhattan. Inside, the soft, amber glow of crystal chandeliers danced on polished silverware and delicate crystal glasses, creating a dazzling display of wealth and privilege. A symphony of hushed conversations, the gentle clinking of cutlery, and the distant murmur of jazz music filled the air. Fortunes were casually spent in a single evening, amounts that many struggling families wouldn't see in months, perhaps even a year, for sustenance or rent. Denzel Washington sat at his usual, discreet corner table, a figure of quiet gravitas and understated power amidst the subdued opulence. He often sought out this particular spot, a rare moment of peace and anonymity where he could observe the city's intricate tapestry of life, his gaze occasionally drifting towards the bustling, indifferent street outside, a world so starkly different from his own. At 65, he was more than just a legendary actor whose face was recognized globally. He was a name synonymous with profound success, having meticulously built an empire not only through his iconic, soul-stirring performances in Hollywood but also, more quietly and significantly, through his extensive philanthropic ventures and shrewd investments that few outside his inner circle were truly aware of. He was savoring his customary Wagyu steak, perfectly seared to a tender medium rare, its rich aroma filling the air, expertly paired with a rare Californian Cabernet Sauvignon, allowing the complex, robust flavors to unfold on his palate. It was a moment of perfect, solitary indulgence, a brief respite from the relentless demands of his public life, when he felt a gentle, almost imperceptible tug on his sleeve. A tiny, frail hand, hesitant and cold, its touch a shocking contrast to the warmth of his fine linen napkin and the soft, luxurious fabric of his suit. He paused, the fork, laden with a succulent piece of his expensive meal, stopping halfway to his mouth. His contemplative expression slowly gave way to one of surprise, then a deeper, more profound realization that seemed to shift something within him. He looked up, his eyes, usually sharp and discerning, now softened with a dawning awareness. Standing beside his table, a stark, heartbreaking contrast to the gleaming marble floors and glittering chandeliers, was a girl. She was dressed in layers of dirty, torn clothes that barely offered any protection from the biting cold outside, her thin frame shivering visibly, a testament to endless nights spent exposed to the elements. Her small face was smudged with grime, but her eyes, though clouded with fear and hunger, held an unsettling clarity, a silent, desperate plea that pierced through the restaurant's sophisticated hum, reaching a part of him that few things ever could. "Excuse me, sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible, raw from disuse, crackling with desperation, and stained by the profound indignity of her situation. Could I please eat what you don't finish?" The words hung in the air, a stark, painful indictment of the world just outside the restaurant's insulated walls. Denzel Washington, a man whose life was defined by control, by the orchestrated chaos of film sets, the intense scrutiny of the global media, and the high-stakes negotiations of corporate boardrooms, felt an unfamiliar, potent jolt. It wasn't just surprise. It was a profound sense of discomfort, a clash between the opulence surrounding him and the raw human need standing before him. He slowly lowered his fork, placing it carefully on his plate, his appetite suddenly gone, replaced by a churning in his gut. He looked at her again, this time truly seeing her, beyond the dirt and the ragged clothes, beyond the social construct of homelessness. He saw the genuine, crystalline tears welling in her startlingly blue eyes, mirroring the distant city lights, now blurred by their unshed weight. He saw the small hands, chapped and red, trembling uncontrollably from hunger, and the insidious chill that had seeped into her very bones. He saw the pure, unadulterated vulnerability of a child pushed to the brink, her innocence clinging on by a thread. "How long have you been without food, little one?" he asked, his voice, to his own surprise, unexpectedly gentle, almost a whisper, devoid of any judgment, laced only with genuine, unfeigned concern that resonated in the quiet space between them. 3 days, she replied, her voice a mere breath, a fragile confession, barely able to stand upright, swaying slightly as if about to collapse from sheer exhaustion and malnourishment. Her answer hung heavy in the air, a stark reminder of a reality so close, yet so often ignored. In that very moment, the most formidable figure in Hollywood, a man of immense influence and unwavering principles, made a decision that would not only change 2 lives irrevocably but would send ripples of transformation far beyond the exclusive confines of the Gilded Spoon, touching countless others in its wake. "Sit here, beside me," Denzel said, his voice now firm but undeniably kind, its resonance filling the small space around his table. He instinctively pulled out a chair from an adjacent empty table, not waiting for permission, ignoring the immediate, disapproving stares and hushed murmurs of other diners who shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The head waiter, a man of rigid decorum, whose existence revolved around maintaining the establishment's pristine image and exclusive, almost sacred atmosphere, rushed over, his face contorted with barely concealed displeasure and a hint of alarm. "Mr. Washington, I deeply apologize, but that child simply cannot be here. It's strictly against our policy. We must ask her to leave immediately." His tone was clipped, authoritative, trying to reassert control. Denzel's gaze, usually warm and inviting in public, hardened, becoming steely, meeting the waiter's insistent, almost aggressive stare without flinching. His voice, calm but carrying an undeniable, quiet authority that seemed to drain the air from the room, cutting through the rising tension, left no room for argument. "I said sit down." The waiter, momentarily stunned by the sheer force of Denzel's unexpected, unwavering command, stammered, his confident demeanor crumbling, his carefully constructed professionalism dissolving into a bewildered silence. He bowed his head slightly, a reluctant, forced retreat, and backed away, leaving the unlikely pair undisturbed. What happened next would shock the entire elegant elite of New York who witnessed it, those privileged few who were present that evening, or those who later heard about it through the inevitable whispers, the viral videos, and the breaking news cycles that followed. It would ultimately prove that sometimes, true, unfiltered kindness, an act of pure compassion born from a moment of connection, is worth infinitely more than all the money in the world, more than all the power and prestige combined. Denzel didn't just offer her leftovers, which was what she had humbly asked for, a testament to her desperate hunger. He took the extensive, leather-bound menu, studying it carefully, not for himself, but for her, as if ordering for a cherished guest. With a thoughtful, almost gentle expression, he ordered her a full, elaborate meal, complete with fresh juice and a warm, decadent dessert. "What would you like, Lucia?" he asked, using her name for the first time, a sound that brought a flicker of surprise, a hint of recognition, and then immense, overwhelming joy to her small, tired face. The look of pure disbelief, followed by a tidal wave of relief and unadulterated happiness that washed over her small features, was a sight he knew he would carry with him forever. It was a raw, unfiltered emotion that cut through the polished veneer of his meticulously structured, often superficial world, reminding him of a simpler, more profound truth. As the fresh, steaming food arrived, a plate of creamy pasta, crusty bread, fresh fruit, and a glass of milk, and she began to eat, cautiously at first, then with increasing gratitude and a desperate urgency, he began to talk to her. He didn't speak to her as a homeless child, an anonymous outcast from the streets. He spoke to her as an equal, a fellow human being with inherent dignity, asking about her dreams, her fears, her life before the streets claimed her innocence. Lucia, initially timid and withdrawn, her voice a mere whisper, slowly opened up, her small voice gaining strength and confidence with each nourishing bite. She told him her story, how she had fled an abusive foster family 6 months ago, driven by unbearable fear, emotional torment, and a desperate yearning for a freedom she barely understood, a yearning for simply existing without pain. She spoke of her harrowing struggle to survive on the harsh, unforgiving streets, the constant, gnawing hunger that never truly left her, the biting cold that seeped into her bones day and night, the ever-present fear that stalked her every step, the profound loneliness that was her constant, silent companion. Denzel listened intently, his gaze unwavering, his expression one of deep contemplation, his heart heavy with the profound weight of her words, understanding the depths of her suffering in a way few ever could. But instead of just pity, he saw something more in her frail form. He saw raw potential, an indomitable spirit, a fierce resilience that belied her tender age, a flicker of light that refused to be extinguished despite the darkness she had endured. He realized then that he hadn't just given her a meal that night. He had given her hope, a tangible lifeline in a world that had cruelly cast her adrift, a glimmer of light in her endless night. That very night, before leaving the restaurant, he made immediate arrangements for her to stay in a safe, warm shelter, ensuring she received proper medical care for her ailments and new, clean clothes that fit her tiny frame. But most significantly, beyond the immediate material aid, he became her mentor, her advocate, a steady, unwavering presence in her tumultuous, uncertain life, promising to visit her and ensure her well-being. Within a few short months, Lucia's life was transformed in ways she could never have dared to imagine. With Denzel's unwavering support and the substantial resources he silently provided, she not only attended school but excelled, blossoming academically and personally. She rediscovered her forgotten love for drawing, her sketches now filled with vibrant colors and joyful scenes, a stark contrast to her previous despair. She devoured books, her eager mind alight with new knowledge and possibilities, her grades soaring. For the first time in years, she felt truly safe, valued, and profoundly loved, a feeling that radiated from her newfound confidence. But the ripple effect of Denzel's single, profound act of kindness didn't stop there, confined to one girl's remarkable journey. Deeply inspired by Lucia's courage, her incredible resilience, and her burgeoning potential, Denzel Washington, a man of unwavering action and deep conviction, felt a calling. He launched a powerful foundation, discreetly at first, then gaining significant traction, dedicated to helping homeless children across the vast, sprawling expanse of New York City, and eventually, the nation. He leveraged his immense influence, his extensive networks within the philanthropic and corporate worlds, and his considerable personal resources to bring about systemic change, not just band-aids. He tirelessly raised massive awareness and significant funds, tirelessly advocating for the rights and fundamental needs of vulnerable youth,